Once every few months, we have bush prayer here in Rustenburg. We men go to Steinfury's farm and we have coffee at 5 in the morning, and then we worship together, listen to the word, pray together, and then we come home. But I was coming home yesterday from bush prayer. Early in the morning, it had just rained, so you had that beautiful smell of rain and earth. And as I was driving back, I spotted a singular white flower that was blooming among the rocks and the trees and the bushes. As you know, the bushveld is a harsh place, so here among all of that I see this beautiful white flower which is blooming. I wanted to stop, but I couldn't because there was a car behind me. But the flower's beauty was arresting. I simply wanted to look at it. After 53 years of sojourning on earth, I wanted to stop and behold it. Unfortunately, we live in times when stopping to look at a flower is the exception. Instead, we live in times where our attention is continually drawn to that which is unfortunately ugly and debased, and usually not of God. Especially so if we're watching television or we're on the internet regularly. And if I asked you today what dominates your thoughts, what would you say? What do your eyes say about what you're thinking about? That's a good question. I think eyes very rarely lie, do they? What would people see in your eyes, and what dominates your thoughts? The Apostle Paul, if he was still alive, would have told me to stop and smell the flower and to meditate upon it. He says in Philippians 4 verse 8, again profound, listen to this. He says, "Finally, brethren, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is of good repute, if there is any excellence and if anything worthy of praise, dwell on these things." Think about these things. You see, there is a godliness, and I believe you're pursuing godliness. There's a godliness which involves choosing to focus on that which is beautiful and lovely, and not to dwell on that which is ugly and debased. Eugene Peterson takes Paul's words and he paraphrases it. I'd like to share the paraphrase with you because it gives us some more depth. He says, friends, and now Paul speaking obviously, friends, I'd say you'll do best by filling your minds and meditating on things true, noble, reputable, authentic, compelling, gracious, the best, not the worst, the beautiful, not the ugly, things to praise, not things to curse. I like that paraphrase. I think he gets what Paul is saying. Fill your mind with things to praise, not things to curse. If you meditate on that which is ugly, like for example, all the people who have hurt you over time, well then your heart will in all probability flow with curses. You'll curse them in your heart. But if your mind focuses on the beautiful, on the lovely, your heart will follow in all probability with praise. For example, if you meditate on how beautiful the grace of God is towards you, well, then you may cry some good tears, because usually that leads to tears if you fully take it in. And then to praise of God, and then you may even pray blessing on all those very people who have hurt you over time, understanding your own brokenness. But this I know, if you focus on that which is good and pure, like the grace of God, curses do not follow. And that, I think, is Paul's point to us. Our minds must be directed towards that which is beautiful, that which is lovely, and that which is good and noble. Just meditating on the flower that I told you about in the bush takes me to new places. There it is, the flower in these harsh surroundings of the bushveld, yet it is flowering by God's hand. That realization leads to prayer. God, may I flower in my harsh circumstances. God, may I be pleasing in your sight and the sight of others like that flower. God, may my heart be as pure as the white of that flower. God, may I be like the flower you made on Staines farm. Take away from me all that is hard and loveless and angry and calloused and evil and bitter and filthy. Take away all my distractions. And please, Lord, bless my enemies. God, Lord, may I be like the flower you made on Staines farm. I remember once that I met with Lo Erasmus. Lo has since gone to be with the Lord. It was a few years ago. I met with him at hospital, and his wife was very ill, and they feared for her life. Family was worried, and they were there. And as Lo was going down the steps, I glimpsed him looking at his teenage grandson and then putting his arm around him. I don't think I have ever seen so much love in anyone's eyes. It was a pure and beautiful moment, full of love, lovely. I was given insight. It was in a sense a private moment, but I got to glimpse it. Now I tell you, there is something for me to meditate on instead of the lovelessness of other people, isn't it? Why would I dwell on the lovelessness of others towards me and towards the world if I may dwell on that moment of beauty that God showed me? In other words, God, may I have the same love in my eyes and in my heart. And God, may I be as beautiful as the flower on Staines farm, full of love for others, blooming where I am, regardless of my circumstances. Do you remember Mary, the sister of Martha? She anointed Jesus with expensive ointment, and the disciples grumbled. There was a waste of money. But Jesus replied by saying that Mary had done a beautiful thing for him. There is a beautiful thing, the thing she did. She had anointed him in preparation of his burial. And yes, it was extravagant, but it was so authentic, so spontaneous. Jesus loved it. Jesus loved what Mary had done for him. She wiped his feet with her hair, and that between all those men, I love it. She just did it. It is this moment of beauty in the shadow of the harshness of the cross that is about to happen to Jesus. It's this beauty that stands out and which calls for us to meditate upon. In other words, Lord, may I be as spontaneous as Mary. When no one else is spontaneous, may I still be spontaneous and authentic. Lord, may I bloom, even when no one else blooms, just like the flower on Staines farm. I close. You will do best by filling your mind and meditating on things that are true, that are noble, that are reputable, that are authentic, that are compelling, and that are gracious. Fill your mind with the best, not the worst. Fill your mind with the beautiful, not the ugly. Fill your mind with things to praise, not things to curse. May God empower you to make the choices, the decisions that will enable you to clean out your mind of all that is ugly and not of God, and to fill it on a continual basis with that which is beautiful, that which is lovely, noble, reputable, authentic, compelling, and gracious. Amen.